Hello friends, welcome you all to this session of non-constitutional bodies. Now in this video, we are going to discuss about the next non-constitutional body, which is the CVC, Central Vigilance Commission. Okay, so first we will discuss about what is the content of this today's video. First we will discuss about the origin, how the CVC has been established. Next we will deal about the composition, about the appointment, tenure and removal, and about the organization of CVC. And also about the functions of CVC and about the Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, this is an important topic, and about the working of this commission CVC, and also about the recent Whistleblowers Act, which is also very important and which is predominantly seen in the UPSC questions. Okay, so we'll start the session right here now. So what is this CVC and how it has been established? That is the first question. In the year 1964, this CVC has been formed as a body by an executive resolution. Okay, just by an executive resolution of the central cabinet. So in the year 1964, when it has been formed, what is the main objective of the CVC is to reduce the corruption in the country. Okay, to act as a watchdog of corruption in the country. That is the main objective in the year 1964 when it has been launched. Okay, on the recommendations of Santanam Committee. Okay, this CVC has been formed on the recommendation of Santanam Committee for Prevention of Corruption. That is one point. Okay, so I told in 1964 it is passed by an executive resolution. There is no act. Okay, there is no act behind this CVC. So what it means? It means that it is a non-statutory body. Okay, in 1964 when it is being established, it is a non-statutory body. But in 2003, okay, the central government passed a bill. It became an act. Okay, then this CVC got a statutory provision. A bill has been passed in the parliament, and that's how this CVC got a statutory recognition. So now CVC is a statutory body currently. And in 2004, what happened is, central government gave another one power to the CVC, which is nothing but receiving complaints regarding the whistleblowers. Okay, what is whistleblowers? That we'll see while dealing about the act entirely. In 2004, central government told that CVC can inquire and they can engage into the complaints received from the whistleblowers also. Okay, so that is the origin of the CVC, how it has been formed. From 1964, I have traced back now. Okay, so that is CVC. So main function of CVC is to reduce the corruption. Where to reduce the corruption? In the central government offices, only in the central government offices. Offices, bodies, PSUs, all related to central government, this CVC is applicable. So what about the state government? Is there any separate SVC? No, there is no body called SVC, State Vigilance Commission. It is not present. Only CVC is there. Okay. Recently, in Himachal, central government gave an advice to state governments to form SVC, which is a State Vigilance Commission. But many states has opposed this idea of forming a separate body of State Vigilance Commission. What is the reason is, the state government itself has a vigilance department, anti-corruption bureau. So these are sufficient for investigating the corruptions which are taking place in the state government. So state governments don't like the idea of establishing a separate body called a State Vigilance Commission. That is the only point. So this one point you should keep in mind is, the Central Vigilance Commission is particularly to the central government officers only. Okay, that is my point. Now we'll deal about the composition. So now talking about the composition of the CVC, Central Vigilance Commission. Okay, this CVC is a multi-member body. It consists of one central. So about the composition, it consists of one Central Vigilance Commissioner and not more than two Vigilance Commissioners. It should not be more than two. Okay, so totally it's a three-member body, multi-member body. That is the composition. So about the appointment, these three members, including Central Vigilance Commissioner and Vigilance Commissioner, they are appointed by the President. Not solely on the recommendations of a committee. Who is present in the committee? First, Prime Minister as the head. Next, Union Home Affairs Minister. Union Home Affairs Minister and Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha. These three members in the committee, and based on the recommendation of the committee only, your President is going to appoint both the Central Vigilance Commissioner and the Vigilance Commissioners. Of course, there should not be more than two. Okay, so that is about the appointment. Now, seeing about their tenure. What is the tenure of office? They hold office for a fixed term of 4 years or until they attain the age of 65. Okay, So the tenure is 4 years or until they attain the age of 65, whichever is earlier. That is about the tenure. And about the reappointment. Okay, when you're talking about tenure, of course, we should talk about the reappointment also. Here in this case of CVC, both your Central Vigilance Commissioner and the Vigilance Commissioner are not eligible for reappointment, either to the state or central government or to their own officers. Their reappointment is not eligible. That is about the reappointment. And now about the removal. Who can remove? They can be removed by the president only. On which grounds? On the grounds of cheat code IUPC. Insolvency, unsound mind, paid employment and conviction. On these grounds, your president can remove both your Central Vigilance Commissioner and the Vigilance Commissioner. Okay. Also on the ground of proved misbehavior and incapacity also you can remove, but for such cases he has to refer the matter to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court should give an assent. After that your president can remove both of them, like three of the members he can remove. So that is about your appointment, tenure and removal. Composition also we have finished. So next we will deal about the organization of the CVC. So with respect to the organization of CVC, it has its own secretariat. It has its own secretariat and it also has its CTE, a wing of Central Technical Examiners Wing. Okay, that is also a part of organization, and also it has a wing of commissioners for departmental inquiry. Okay, with respect to any departmental inquiry also they have a wing of commissioners. So this is the organization structure of CVC. Okay, there is nothing more, there is not more to study, just know the organization. They have three organizations, they have their own secretariat, and they also have CTE, Chief Technical Examiners Wing, and also they have commissioners, their own commissioners, a wing for departmental inquiries. Okay, that is about the organization. Next we will study about the functions. So far we have discussed about the composition of CVC. Now we will discuss about the functions. What is the function? We all know the main objective function is to reduce the corruption. Okay, to reduce the corruption in all the central government offices. But exact what is the function? The first function is into inquiry. So what inquiry? Inquiry of all the references made by the central government regarding their offices. All the references made by central government with respect to corruption. Okay, what corruption? From on the basis of Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Okay, on this act, based on this act, if there is any reference made by central government, then the CVC is entitled for the inquiry. Okay, that is one thing. So what are the officers coming under this inquiry? Exactly what the CVC, in which officers CVC can make an inquiry? There are some classifications. First one, All India Services. Okay, All India Services and Group A post of central governments. In that, CVC is entitled for this inquiry, and also with respect to PSBs, public sector banks, scale 5 and above. That is the rank given, scale 5 and above, and all the respective authorities of central government, all the officers, a respective level is there. Above that, your CVC is entitled for investigation and inquiry. What about your PSUs, public sector enterprises? With the public sector enterprises, there are classifications: Schedule A and B, Schedule C and D. Okay. With respect to public sector undertakings, there are classifications: Schedule A PSUs, B PSUs, C PSUs and D PSUs. For A and B, it is a rank E8 and above. Okay. For C and D, it is E7 and above. These are nothing but a rank. Okay. Officers of that rank, E8 and above. With respect to C and D, it is E7 and above. These officers are included in that. Okay, what included in that? For inquiry. Okay, CVC are entitled for inquiry. All India Services included, Group A post of central government is included, and scale 5 and above of PSBs are included. With respect to PSUs, I have given the rank here, and all other corresponding central government officers, a respective level and above, it is also included for the inquiry with respect to CVC. Okay, that is one important function of CVC. Next, we are talking about the superintendents. What is you mean by superintendents? Nothing but a supervision. Okay. This word looks complex, but the simple meaning is supervision. Supervisioning. That is the simple meaning of superintendents. Okay. Of CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation. Okay. So this CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, has a higher role. Okay. It can supervise. Okay. It can supervise a CBI, not on all matters. Okay. CBI is a different body. We will study about it later. Okay. Only on the matters relating to corruption. According to Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. Okay. What are the matters CBI is investigating? Then the CVC is having a greater role. It can supervise the CBI on prevention of corruption matters. Okay. That is one thing. And it also has the superintendent's role with respect to vigilance administration in every ministry. Okay, every ministry, you take every ministry, railway ministry, health ministry, like that, you take every ministry, all the ministries will have their responding vigilance department. Okay, so this CVC automatically has a position, has a supervising position over all the vigilance departments of all the ministries of central government. Okay, that is one important function. So these are the some functions. There are another one important function that we will deal now. We are studying about the CVC, Central Vigilance Commission. We have studied about the composition, appointment, tenure, removal, and about the organization, and we are studying about the functions. So far we discussed about the three important functions of CVC. Now the fourth, another important function of CVC is the Central Vigilance Commissioner along with the two other Vigilance Commissioner, along with the Secretaries of Ministry of Home Affairs and Department of Personnel and Training and Department of Revenue under Ministry of Finance. So these all, okay, these all members form a committee. They are members of a committee. Okay, this committee, on the recommendation of this committee only, the central government will appoint the Director of Enforcement. Okay, Director of Enforcement. Who is the Director of Enforcement? It is a IRS officer. Okay, so based on the recommendation of this committee only, your central government will appoint the Director of Enforcement. Also, along with this committee, okay, this committee plus the Director of Enforcement, okay, on that recommendation only, the Deputy Director of Enforcement will also be appointed. Okay, so this committee plays a major role in the Directorate of Enforcement, which you are going to study later. Okay, so this is another one important function of CVC, because Central Vigilance Commissioner and the other Vigilance Commissioner are part of the committee which is selecting the Director of Enforcement. So now we will study about the Directorate of Enforcement, because this consistently you can see these questions in many test series. That's why I have taken this Directorate of Enforcement. We will study in elaborate manner. So now we will study about the Directorate of Enforcement. What is this Directorate of Enforcement that we have seen in newses and papers again and again? So what is this Directorate of Enforcement is? Nothing but it is a specialized financial investigation agency under the Department of Revenue in Ministry of Finance. Okay, it is a specialized investigation agency. So what is the main function of this Directorate of Enforcement is to enforce two laws. Okay, one law is the FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, 1999, and Money Laundering Act 2002. So enforcing these two laws is the main function of Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, apart from these two laws, there is also one law which is the enforcement or the main function of the Directorate of Enforcement, which is nothing but the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. Okay, so fugitive economic offenders. Okay, the people, this act came into light after this Nirav Modi and Mallaya's case. Okay, so how this Director of Enforcement has a role to play in this is, this Director of Enforcement, the main function is to deter, okay, stop the economic offenders from skipping the Indian laws, moving out of India to go outside the jurisdiction of Indian judiciary. Okay, this Director of Enforcement, the role of this Director of Enforcement is to stop those economic offenders from flying outside jurisdiction of the Indian court. That is the main function given to this Directorate of Enforcement. Along with these two acts, this act is also enforceable under this Directorate of Enforcement. So now when you are studying about the Directorate of Enforcement, we understood the main role of this Directorate of Enforcement is to stop the money laundering. Okay, because the Directorate of Enforcement enforces the many laws like FEMA and Money Laundering Act and Economic Offenders Act and all. Okay, so on this background, we should know what is money laundering. Okay, from the Money Laundering Act 2002, what is money laundering? Because UPSC has asked questions regarding money laundering. Okay, so you should know what is money laundering. There are three stages of money laundering. Okay, one is placement, another one is layering, and third one is integration. These are the three stages of money laundering as per the Money Laundering Act 2002, which is enforceable under Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, so what do you mean by placement? Nothing but a criminal is there. Okay, he is having some illegal money. So what he will do is, he will try to inject those illegal money into the economy. That is known as the placement. He is placing that criminally earned money into the economy. That is the placement. The next step is layering. So after introducing the money into the, after placing the money into the economy, what he will do is he will split the big criminal amount into smaller parts and he will keep on rotating, okay, transforming. It will, the movement of the criminal money, that will take in the layering part, okay. What do you mean by integration? Integration is the final step of the money laundering. What happens is after the layering keeps on, the criminal money keeps on, he will split the monies into different parts and he will keep on moving from banks to bank. Finally, what happens is this illegal money will get mixed into the legal money. That is the final step happening in the integration. So this is the 3 steps involved in money laundering. Now I hope you got an understanding what is money laundering and how it is happening. Okay, to stop this money laundering only, Directorate of Enforcement is there. Okay, in simple terms. So we understood that one of the prime role of Directorate of Enforcement is to control the money laundering. Okay, so there are many illegal transactions, illegal financial transactions happening in the world. Okay, in the country actually. So for every illegal financial transaction, is Directorate of Enforcement is the first body of receiving all the complaints? No. Okay, Directorate of Enforcement is just responsible for investigating. Okay, it is just an investigating office. Okay, then who will do the other part, like receiving the first information, receiving, processing, analyzing those informations? That is done by another thing called as the Financial Intelligence Unit, IND, India. This is an department under the Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance. Okay, this FIUIND is the first hand. Okay, it is the first gate of receiving the informations. Okay, then the investigation is only done by the Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, receiving the information, processing it, analyzing it, it is all done by the FIUIND. Investigation part is only done by the Directorate of Enforcement. We understood that the main role is to, the first function or the main role of Directorate of Enforcement is to prevent the money laundering. So we understood the main function of the Directorate of Enforcement is to prevent the money laundering. There is also another one function of Directorate of Enforcement, which is nothing but sponsor cases of preventive detention under the Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smugglings Act 1974. Okay, so these we have already seen 3 laws. Okay, this 4th law is also applicable under the Directorate of Enforcement. That is one of the function of Directorate of Enforcement. Okay, if UPSC is asking, you can easily answer. That is another one function. There are also some special codes with respect to Directorate of Enforcement. There is also some special codes which is nothing but if anyone is according to PMLA Act 2002, if there is an offence, those trials, okay, for those trials there are some special codes. Central government can designate some sessions code as a special code known as the PMLA codes. Once there was a question regarding PMLA codes. Okay, these PMLA codes are designated by the central government after receiving assent from the Chief Justice of the concerned High Court. Okay, after his consent, central government can set up a PMLA code for speedy trial of the offence under the PMLA Act 2002. These are special codes of PMLA code. So we have studied about the Directorate of Enforcement as a whole. Why we are studying this Directorate of Enforcement? Because one of the main functions of CVC is included in this Directorate of Enforcement. That's why we have studied this full Directorate of Enforcement. Now we will see a questions relating to a Directorate of Enforcement. We will see a question relating to Enforcement Directorate. So question goes like this. Consider the following statements regarding Enforcement Directorate. The first statement is, Enforcement Directorate has the power to attach the assets of the culprits found guilty of violation of PMLA Act 2002. That is first statement. And second statement is, attachment of assets means prohibition of transfer, conversion, disposition or movement of property by an order issued under Chapter 3 of Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. Which of the above statements are correct? Okay, the option goes like A, B, C and D. So just analyze the statements. There are 2 statements and you have to pick which statements are true. Okay, so the answer is both the statements are false. Why is the first statement, Enforcement Directorate has the power to attach the assets of culprits found guilty of violation. Yes, one of the main functions or the role of the Enforcement Directorate is to attach the assets, but not as per PMLA Act. Okay, it is not as per PMLA Act. It is as per the FEMA Act, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Because of the Act, the first statement goes wrong. It is incorrect. The second statement, attachment of assets. What do you mean by attachment of assets? Attachment of assets means prohibition of transfer, conversion, disposition or movement of property by an order issued under Chapter 3 of Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. Again, this statement is false because of the act mentioned. It is not Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. It is the PMLA Act 2000. It is the PMLA Act 2002. Okay, because of these two acts misplaced, both the statements are false. Okay, so the answer is D, neither one nor two. So we have discussed about the Enforcement Directorate. Now we will study about the CVC, of the working of the Commission of CVC. So we have finished up to we have seen about the functions and also about the Directorate of Enforcement. Now we will study about the working of the Commission. Before going into the working of the Commission, there is an amendment with respect to CVC Act 2003, Central Vigilance Commission 2003 Act. There is a small amendment. The Lokpal Ayukta Act 2013 has made a small amendment in the CVC Act 2003. So that amendment we will see. There are some three important amendments. The first amendment is Director of Prosecution in CBI, okay, Central Bureau of Investigation. That will be dealing in the next video, what is CBI. But now have an understanding that the Director of Prosecution of CBI is appointed by the government on the recommendation of the Chief Vigilance Commissioner. That is one amendment. The second amendment goes like, the Chief Vigilance Commissioner along with the other two Vigilance Commissioner and also the Secretaries of Ministries of Home Affairs and Department of Personnel and Training, okay, they form a committee. Okay, this committee is responsible for the appointment of SP and above ranking in the CBI. Okay, if the above SP in CBI, if they want to appoint, they will have the recommendation, they will go to this committee, the committee which has the Central Vigilance Commissioner along with two other Vigilance Commissioner, also included the Secretaries of Ministries of Home Affairs and Department of Personnel and Training. Okay, this committee, after the recommendation of this committee only, the post of SP and above is appointed by the CBI. But one exception is that Director of CBI. Okay, Director of CBI is not appointed on the basis of recommendation of this committee. That is one exception that you have to note. And the third important amendment is this Lokpal Ayukta Act 2013 brought a small amendment in CVC. Now this CVC, this commission is also responsible for hearing complaints from the Lok Ayukta. Okay, from the Lokpal and Lok Ayukta also the complaint should be heard by the commission in all the offices of central government offices of Group A, B, C and D. That is also an important amendment with respect to CVC Act 2003. Okay, with this understanding, we will move on to the working of the commission. So what is the working of the commission? It has all the powers of civil code. Okay, the CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, has all the powers of civil code. All the powers means it can ask central government for any records, it can investigate, it can ask for any evidence from the government. So it has all the strength of a civil code while prosecution. That is one important function. And advice is the advice of government. Okay, this CVC can advise the central government. Okay, see, CVC is asking for any information or record from central government, and based on that record or information, it is advising the central government. That advice is not binding on the central government, but the central government should respond to that recommendation. That is the only criteria given. So advises government but not binding. The advices are not binding. That is one thing. Annual report. This CVC presents annual report to the central government, which the central government will place in the parliament. That is one important function. And about the Chief Vigilance Officer, CVO, Chief Vigilance Officer. Every ministries and every department will have a Chief Vigilance Officer. He is responsible for the administration of vigilance. Okay, he is the watchdog of that Ministry of Vigilance. So this CVO acts as a link between that ministry or department or organization and the CVC. Okay, this CVO will be there in every ministry or department. He is a link or bridge between the CVC and the corresponding ministries or departments. So that is about the working of the commission. Next we will see about the important thing, which is the Whistleblowers Act 2011. So far we have discussed about the CVC. So now a part of CVC, we are going to see about the Whistleblowers Act 2011, which is very important. Okay. So what is this Whistleblowers Act? What is this whistleblower? Which means you are employed in your office. And you see your manager or your senior involved in a corruption. Okay. So you from your office becomes the first member, okay, to report this corruption to your higher official. If you are reporting this corruption as a first member from your office, then you became the whistleblower. You are the whistleblower because you are blowing the whistle as first. You also know what happened in Facebook case. Same like that only. After this Facebook issue only, the Whistleblowers Act has been formulated and it is taken as very seriously. So that is how this Whistleblowers Act has been formed. Okay. So how this act has been traced out is, the government came with something called the Public Interest Disclosure and Protection to Persons Making the Disclosure Bill 2010. Okay, it came with this bill. So what is the purpose of this bill is to, if I am the person who is the whistleblower, okay, the government thought that my identity, because I am reporting the corruption, my identity should be preserved. It should not be disclosed. My identity should be stopped. It should not be disclosed, and there should be a protection for me, because I am the one who is blowing the whistle. I am the one who is reporting the corruption, and tomorrow nothing should happen for me. So government thought that the person who is reporting the corruption, protection should be given. For that only this bill has been formulated. And again, after this bill, it has been amended. This bill has been amended, and finally a name change has been given to this bill as the Whistleblowers Act 2010. Okay, so this became Whistleblowers Act 2011. Okay, that is how this act has been formed. So now we'll see what are the important features of this act, Whistleblowers Act. The first important feature is protection of identity. As I told, that is the main function, or that is the main role of this act. That is why this act has been formulated. The main role is to provide the identity. Who is reporting the corruption? Who is the whistleblower? Identity of whistleblower will be protected. That is an important feature. Second thing is competent authority. Okay, public or citizens can, if they find any corruption in any offices, they can come and report to a competent authority. Who is the competent authority? The competent authority is the CVC, Central Vigilance Commission, as of now. Okay, this Whistleblowers Act made a amendment to the CVC Act 2003, saying that whistleblowers can report to the competent authority. The competent authority as of now is the CVC. That is the second important feature, competent authority. The third one is the disclosure in good faith. The person who is reporting the corruption, he should disclose that in good faith. Okay, he should in writing, he should write that he believes that this corruption has happened. Okay, in good faith, he should disclose the corruption. That is the another feature. And about the punishments, what is the punishment is, I am wrongly reporting in corruption. Okay, that can also happen. I am wrongly reporting in corruption. That corruption has not happened in my office, but still I am reporting it just to suppress my manager or my senior. If they found such cases, then punishment is there. Punishment is 2 years jail and maximum 30,000 fine. That is the punishment given for that. And no identity, no action. I am reporting to a competent authority. I am not disclosing my identity. Just a plain letter I am sending to the competent authority. If such case is there, no identity, for that no action is taken. Okay, so that is one important feature. And national security, any information or any subject matters related to national security is kept outside the purview of this act, Whistleblowers Act 2011. So that is about this act. With this act, I am closing the CVC. So that is the Central Vigilance Commission. We have talked about the composition, appointment, tenure, removal, about the organization, about the functions. One main important function of CVC is the Chief Vigilance Commissioner, along with the two Vigilance Commissioner, forms a committee, a member of the committee for selecting the Enforcement Directorate, a director of this Enforcement Directorate. And we have seen about the working of the commission, and also we have talked about the Whistleblowers Act 2011. So with that, I am closing the CVC. Thank you for watching this video, and in the next video, we will again continue the non-constitutional bodies.